Imagine standing beside a stone that weighs more than 1,000 tons. Not a modern machine, not a piece of industrial equipment, just a massive block of stone, carved by human hands. Now imagine trying to move it without cranes, without engines, and without modern technology. Thousands of years ago, ancient builders somehow transported enormous stones and used them to create one of the most mysterious monuments on Earth. This is Baalbek. And the biggest question isn't who built it, it's how they moved the stones. Deep in Lebanon's Bekaa Valley stands an ancient site, unlike almost anywhere else on Earth. Today, we call it Baalbek. But this place was considered sacred long before the massive Roman temples were built. Ancient peoples worshipped their gods here for centuries. Later, under Roman rule, Baalbek was transformed into an enormous sanctuary. The Romans built towering columns, massive courtyards, and enormous stone platforms. They wanted their temples to dominate the landscape, and they succeeded. But hidden beneath this monumental architecture was something even more extraordinary. Stones so massive that their size still challenges our understanding of ancient engineering. And that's where the real mystery begins. But Baalbek's greatest mystery isn't what was built here, it's what was built with. Beneath the later Roman structures lies a massive stone platform, unlike almost anything else in the ancient world. Some of its foundation blocks weigh hundreds of tons, and 3 of the largest stones, known as the trilithon, are estimated to weigh roughly 800 tons each. But even these enormous blocks may not be the largest ever found here. Nearby, in an ancient quarry, lies the stone of the pregnant woman, a single block estimated to weigh more than 1,000 tons. It was cut from the bedrock, but never moved. And that raises a remarkable question. Why would ancient builders quarry stones of this scale if they didn't have the technology to move them? But the most extraordinary part of Baalbek isn't what stands above the ground, it's what lies beneath it. At the heart of the complex is a massive stone platform known as the temple platform, and buried within its foundations are some of the largest stones ever used in ancient construction. 3 enormous blocks form part of a structure known as the trilithon. Each one is estimated to weigh hundreds of tons. They're positioned with remarkable precision, forming a foundation that has survived for nearly 2,000 years. And this creates a fascinating problem. How did ancient builders transport, lift and position stones of this size with the technology available to them? The stones are real, the engineering is real. But exactly how they did it remains one of Baalbek's greatest mysteries. But there is another mystery hiding beneath Baalbek. Who actually built this enormous foundation? The site was later transformed by the Romans, who constructed one of the greatest temple complexes of the ancient world. But the massive stone platform beneath it raises a deeper question. Was every part of this enormous foundation built by the Romans? Or did they build upon something that was already here? Archaeologists have found evidence of earlier occupation at Baalbek, long before the Roman period. But there is no definitive evidence proving that an unknown civilization built the giant megalithic platform. And that's what makes Baalbek so fascinating. We know who came here later. We know what they built. But the full story of the stones beneath their temples is still not completely understood. So how could ancient builders move stones weighing hundreds of tons? The Romans had no engines, no modern cranes, and no heavy machinery. But ancient engineers understood a simple principle. Massive objects don't always need to be lifted. They can be moved using ramps, rollers, wooden sledges, ropes, and enormous amounts of coordinated effort. Prepared paths could reduce friction, while ramps could gradually raise the stones into position. These techniques are surprisingly effective, but there's a problem. They may explain how ancient builders moved extremely heavy stones. They don't completely explain the largest blocks at Baalbek. And that's where the mystery becomes fascinating. Because knowing how something might be possible is very different from knowing how it was actually done. But there is one final piece of the puzzle that makes Baalbek even more remarkable. Not every enormous stone was ever used. In the ancient quarry, massive blocks still remain where they were cut from the bedrock. The most famous is the stone of the pregnant woman, weighing more than 1,000 tons. And nearby, an even larger unfinished block has been identified. These stones tell us something important. Ancient builders were not simply working with ordinary blocks of stone. They were deliberately quarrying megaliths on a scale that seems almost unimaginable. But why? Was the enormous size necessary for the structure? Was it a demonstration of power and engineering? Or did ancient builders simply have a different understanding of what was possible? We may never know the exact answer. But the abandoned stones leave behind something remarkable. Evidence of what ancient engineers attempted, even when they didn't finish the job. After all these centuries, Baalbek still leaves us with more questions than answers. We know the Romans built and expanded this enormous sanctuary. We know ancient engineers possessed sophisticated tools, machines, and construction techniques. And we know that some of the largest stones were deliberately quarried and incorporated into the massive platform. But we still don't know exactly how every enormous block was transported and positioned. Perhaps the answer is not a lost civilization, or some technology beyond our understanding. Perhaps it was simply an extraordinary combination of engineering, planning, manpower, and time. But standing beside these stones today, one fact is impossible to ignore. The people who built Baalbek were capable of far more than we often imagine. And the stones they left behind are still challenging us to understand how they did it. Today, Baalbek still stands beneath the Lebanese sky. Its temples are broken, its builders are gone, and the methods they used to move these enormous stones remain partly hidden by time. We may never know every detail of how Baalbek was built, but perhaps that's what makes this place so fascinating. Because the stones don't need to prove that ancient people possessed impossible technology. They prove something far more remarkable. Human beings have always been capable of doing more than we think. And sometimes, the greatest mysteries aren't waiting to be solved. They're waiting to remind us how little we truly know